The stars shimmered in the cold void of space, indifferent to the lives below them. For centuries, humanity had spread through the galaxy like wildfire, carving out an empire from systems that had once belonged to forgotten civilizations. But no one had forgotten the Amia. The Amia were one of the first alien species humanity had encountered after achieving faster-than-light travel. Their arrival had been heralded with diplomacy, an exchange of knowledge and technology that initially benefited both sides. But things soured quickly. The Amia, a sleek and cunning race, underestimated the tenacity and adaptability of humans. When conflicts over resources escalated, the Amia sought to crush humanity with overwhelming force. Believing themselves to be the superior species, they failed. Humanity fought back with ferocity that stunned the galaxy, and in the ensuing war, the Amia were driven to the fringes, their empire shattered. For generations, there had been no sign of them, no whisper of their presence. Many believed they were extinct. But deep within the bowels of a forgotten asteroid station, an old message blinked to life: "They are back." It was a single sentence, repeated over and over in the Hull station's databanks, waiting for anyone who would listen. On the bridge of the Redemption's Burden, Captain Amelia Graves watched the holographic display with a grim expression. That ship, a battle-hardened cruiser of the United Earth Forces, drifted in orbit around the dead asteroid where the signal had originated. No one had been there in decades, and yet the message persisted, a warning. "The Amia," Lieutenant Karim muttered, standing beside her, his brow furrowed in disbelief. "They're supposed to be dead." "They're supposed to be," Graves agreed, her voice low. "But we can't ignore this. We have to investigate." The Redemption's Burden had seen its fair share of battles. The steel hull bore the scars of skirmishes with pirates, rogue colonies, and the occasional alien threat. But the Amia, that was a whole different league. If they had returned, it could mean something worse than just another war. It could mean revenge. Meanwhile, in the depths of a forgotten sector, aboard a shadowy alien vessel, a figure stood. His form was grotesque by human standards, massive, bulbous, yet eerily graceful. The Fat Man, as he had come to be called, was a towering Amian warlord. His people, once lithe and elegant, had evolved, or rather mutated, over the centuries of exile. Their once perfect symmetry had warped, giving rise to a bulkier, more robust form, but they were stronger, smarter, and more brutal. The Fat Man stood at the helm of his flagship, eyes fixed on the planet displayed before him, Earth, the blue marble that had brought his people to ruin. It had taken them years to rebuild, to recover from the brink of extinction, and now, the time had come to exact their vengeance. Beside him, his advisor, smaller, though no less imposing than himself, stood in silence, awaiting his command. The Fat Man's gaze narrowed. "Begin the assault." On board the Redemption's Burden, alarms blared. The ship's AI had detected a fleet dropping out of FTL near the system's edge. Graves and Karim rushed to the tactical station, watching in horror as the sensor data updated. "Amian ships," Graves whispered, her heart pounding. "Dozens of them. They must have been hiding in deep space," Karim said, his voice shaking. "Waiting." Graves slammed her fist on the console. "Prepare for combat. Send word to Earth, Amia are back." The crew scrambled, manning their stations as the ship's weapon systems came online. The once empty space around the asteroid was now teeming with enemy vessels. Their sleek forms cut through the darkness, and at the center of them all was the largest ship Graves had ever seen, a behemoth that dwarfed even the largest human dreadnoughts. It had to be the Amian command ship. "That's him," Karim muttered. "The Fat Man." Graves nodded, her jaw set. "I want every weapon we have aimed at that ship. We can't let him reach Earth." The Redemption's Burden surged forward, engines flaring as it moved to intercept the Amian fleet. A volley of plasma bolts and railgun slugs shot across the void, lighting up the black mass of space as the battle began. The Fat Man watched with cold satisfaction from his command deck as the first human ship dared to engage his fleet. He was expecting resistance. He was prepared for a fight, but what he had in store for humanity went far beyond anything they could imagine. This time, the Amia would not be defeated, and the Fat Man Cometh The void of space crackled with fire and fury as human and Amian ships clashed, streaks of plasma and railgun slugs tearing through the blackness. The Redemption's burden shook under the force of the Amian onslaught, its shields flickering with each impact. Shields at 60%, Kareem shouted, his voice barely audible over the blaring alarms. Captain Graves gripped the armrests of her chair, eyes locked on the tactical display. The Amia had come in force. Their ships were smaller, faster than humanity's aging cruisers, but what they lacked in size, they more than made up for in coordination and precision. Every time the burden landed a shot, an Amian ship darted away, only to be replaced by two more. They're playing with us, Graves muttered under her breath. Kareem turned to her, sweat beading on his forehead. We need reinforcements, Captain. There's no way we can hold them off by ourselves. Graves knew he was right, but reinforcements were hours away. Earth's fleets were scattered across the stars, securing the borders of humanity's empire. The Redemption's burden was the only line of defense between the Amia and Earth, at least for now. Keep firing, Graves ordered. Target the command ship. If we can take out the Fat Man, we might stand a chance. The bridge crew moved with military precision, firing volley after volley at the behemoth at the center of the Amian fleet. The Fat Man's flagship loomed like a shadow, absorbing the hits without so much as a flicker of its shields. As the burden's guns thundered, Graves couldn't help but wonder how the Amia had hidden for so long. How had they rebuilt in the darkness, far from prying eyes? More importantly, how had they become so powerful? Captain, Kareem's voice cut through her thoughts. We've got incoming boarding parties. Before Graves could respond, the ship shook violently as Amian boarding pods slammed into the hull. The lights flickered, and the ship's internal defenses went live. But it was too late. The Amia had already breached. In the narrow corridors of the Redemption's burden, chaos reigned. Amian soldiers, their once sleek forms now hulking and brutish, stormed through the ship. Their elongated limbs and enhanced musculature made them formidable opponents, cutting down human defenders with brutal efficiency. Sergeant Leah Turner had seen combat before, fought pirates, rebels, even a rogue AI, but nothing prepared her for the Amia. She fired her rifle down the corridor, the rams pinning off the armored skin of the lead Amian soldier. He snarled, lunging forward with an energy blade that carved through the bulkhead like butter. Fall back, Turner yelled to her squad, tossing a grenade to slow the advance. The explosion rocked the hallway, but the Amia barely flinched. They're too strong, one of her men shouted, panic in his voice. Turner gritted her teeth and pulled him back, forcing her squad to retreat deeper into the ship. They couldn't fight these things head-on, not like this. As they moved, Turner's calm crackled to life. This is Graves. We're being boarded. All hands, repel the invaders. Protect the reactor at all costs. Turner cursed under her breath. If the Amia reached the reactor, it was all over. On the bridge, Graves watched the tactical readout as her ship was overrun. We need to hold them off until reinforcements arrive, she muttered. Kareem glanced at her, fear in his eyes. Reinforcements won't get here in time. Captain, we have to consider abandoning ship. Graves shook her head. Not yet. If the Amia reach Earth, there won't be anything left to save. We have to slow them down. Suddenly, a voice crackled over the ship's comm system, a deep, distorted voice that sent a chill down Graves' spine. Humans, the voice rumbled. I am the Fat Man. Your time has come. Graves' eyes widened as the image of the Amian warlord appeared on the screen before her. He was monstrous, far larger and bulkier than the Amia they had fought in the past. His eyes glowed with a cold, calculated malice. You thought we were gone, that your victory all those years ago was complete. The Fat Man continued, but we have returned, stronger than ever, and this time, we will not stop until your kind is erased from the stars. Graves leaned forward, glaring at the screen. You're not going to win. We beat you once, and we'll do it again. The Fat Man chuckled, the sound low and menacing. You still don't understand, do you? This is not a war. This is an extermination. With that, the comm went silent, and the assault resumed with renewed intensity. Deep in the bowels of the ship, Turner and her squad made their final stand near the reactor. The Amia were relentless, cutting down any defenders who stood in their way. Turner's hands shook as she reloaded her weapon, her squad down to just a handful of survivors. "We can't hold them off much longer," one of her men panted. Turner glanced at the reactor behind them. If the Amia took it, they could blow the ship apart in minutes. She wasn't about to let that happen. "Then we fight until the last breath," Turner said, her voice steady. "If we go down, we take as many of them with us as we can." The Amia charged, and Turner raised her rifle, ready to sell her life dearly. Back on the bridge, alarms blared as the Redemption's burden continued to take heavy damage. The Fat Man's flagship loomed closer, its weapons charging for the final blow. Graves looked at the screen, her heart pounding. "All hands," she said into the comm, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. "Prepare for emergency evacuation. We're not going to win this fight, but we can still make sure the Amia don't walk away unscathed." As the ship shuddered under the weight of the Amian assault, Graves turned to Kareem. "Prepare to overload the reactor. If we're going down, we're taking the Fat Man with us." Kareem nodded, his hands trembling as he initiated the sequence. "It's been an honor, Captain." Graves gave him a grim smile. "Likewise." The reactor hummed to life, its energy levels spiking. The Fat Man's ship moved in for the kill, oblivious to the trap that had been set. As the Redemption's burden's reactor reached critical levels, Graves sent one final message to Earth. "The Amia are back. Prepare for war." Then, in a blinding flash, the ship exploded, taking the Fat Man's flagship with it. The wreckage of the Redemption's burden and the Amian flagship drifted silently through the cold expanse of space, the aftermath of their final confrontation. Flashes of dying systems flickered amidst the debris, casting eerie shadows over the broken hulls. Yet, in the wake of the catastrophic explosion, the battle was far from over. The surviving Amian ships regrouped, now leaderless but still dangerous. Their war instincts, honed by centuries of exile, kicked in. Despite the loss of the Fat Man, they weren't about to abandon their mission. The plan to strike Earth was still in motion. But humanity had learned to survive, and with the message from Captain Graves delivered just before the explosion, Earth was already mobilizing. Reinforcements were on the way, and they were coming fast. In the heart of the United Earth Command Center, General Noah Stenson stared grimly at the tactical hologram displaying the remnants of the battle. The blue dots representing human forces were dwindling. They had lost the Redemption's burden, and the Fat Man had struck a blow that humanity wouldn't soon forget. "Eat on reinforcements," Stenson barked to his staff. 40 minutes out, sir," a lieutenant replied, typing furiously at her station. "We've got 3 cruisers and a destroyer moving in, but they'll need time to position themselves for the defense of Earth." Stenson's jaw clenched. The Amian fleet wouldn't wait 40 minutes. They were already regrouping, moving toward the planet. "Get every available ship in Earth's orbit armed and ready. I don't care if it's a cargo holory if it can't fight. It fights. We're not letting them through." As his staff scrambled to carry out the order, Stenson's gaze fell on the image of the Fat Man's ship, now a massive, smoldering wreck floating in the display. He could feel the weight of history pressing down on his shoulders. The Amia had returned, more powerful and ruthless than ever, and they wouldn't stop until humanity was crushed beneath their heel. The Fat Man might be dead, but his legacy of destruction lived on. Meanwhile, amidst the wreckage of the battlefield, something stirred. Inside one of the twisted sections of the Fat Man's flagship, deep in the command center, where the grotesque warlord had issued his final orders, a hidden stasis pod hummed to life. Inside, an Amian figure lay suspended in fluid, another of the warlords, not quite as massive as the Fat Man, but just as dangerous. The pod hissed open, and the figure stepped out, sleek and menacing. Unlike the Fat Man, this warlord had retained more of the elegance and agility that had once defined their species. His sharp eyes gleamed with malice as he surveyed the wreckage around him. With the Fat Man gone, this warlord known as Zolkor was next in line, and where the Fat Man had favored brute force, Zolkor favored something more insidious, strategy and deception. he activated a hidden comms panel embedded in the wall and sent a message to the remaining Amian fleet. "This is Warlord Zokor. The fat man is dead. I am assuming command. Proceed with the plan. Earth falls today." The surviving Amian ships responded immediately. Falling into formation, Zokor's leadership was swift and decisive. Unlike his predecessor, he wouldn't risk a direct assault on Earth's defenses. He had a different approach in mind. 40 minutes later, Earth's defense fleet finally arrived, engines flaring as they took up positions around the planet. The United Earth Forces had assembled every available ship, a mix of cruisers, destroyers, and even armed civilian vessels. They were prepared to make a stand. General Stenson stood at the command center, watching as the Amian fleet moved closer, but something was off. The enemy ships weren't charging toward Earth in a frontal assault. They were holding position just beyond the range of Earth's defense guns. "What are they doing?" Stenson muttered, narrowing his eyes. "Why aren't they attacking?" Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring across the command center. "Sir," one of the technicians shouted, "we're detecting massive energy signatures in orbit, multiple points." Stenson's blood ran cold. He knew what was coming. They've deployed orbital bombs. They're going to bombard us from space. The Amia weren't trying to fight a battle. They were planning to devastate Earth from afar, raining down destruction from orbit without ever engaging the defense fleet directly. Zokor's strategy was brilliant, and if the bombs detonated, billions of lives would be lost before the reinforcements even had a chance to engage. "Get those bombs on screen," Stenson barked, and the tactical display shifted, showing several massive energy signatures orbiting dangerously close to Earth. "We need to stop those bombs, now." On board the UEF cruiser Ironwall, Commander Sarah Vance received the emergency transmission from Earth. "Zokor's forces have deployed orbital bombs. We need to disable them before they detonate." Vance wasted no time. "All ships, prepare for a high-speed intercept. Target those bombs and take them out before they reach critical mass. This is our only shot." The Iron was surged forward, followed by the rest of the Earth defense fleet. They had minutes, maybe less, before the bombs would detonate and unleash catastrophic destruction. Vance's hands flew across the controls as her ship locked onto the nearest bomb. Target acquired. Fire! A volley of missiles streaked through space, closing the distance to the bomb. Seconds felt like hours as the missiles raced toward their target. Then, in a blinding flash, the bomb was engulfed in an explosion. "One down," Vance said, her voice tight. "Move to the next." The fleet worked with frantic precision, intercepting one bomb after another, but time was running out. With each passing second, the remaining bombs drew closer to Earth's surface. Zokor watched from the safety of his command ship as the humans scrambled to disable his bombs. He knew they would succeed in taking out some, maybe even most of them, but he had planned for that. His true objective wasn't to destroy Earth outright, not yet. With a cold smile, he issued new orders to his fleet. "Activate Phase 2. From within the Amian ships, smaller craft emerged covered infiltration pods designed to bypass Earth's defenses while the humans were distracted by the bombs. Each pod carried a deadly payload. Elite Amian strike teams, tasked with sabotaging Earth's infrastructure from within.